I will call the audit committee meeting to order. Our first thing on the agenda is to review the minutes from December the 4th.
On the back side in front. Everybody seen them?
Yes.
All were present at that meeting. Madam Chairman, Ms. Atwood conducted, quorum was determined. The only thing we did in that meeting was basically elect officers.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chairman Beverly Atwood was elected by acclamation. Vice Chair Mr. Dennis was elected by acclamation, and Secretary Jerry Ford was elected by acclamation. And other than that, that's about all we did in that meeting. There's some more down in here, but it was basically it.
It's mainly discussion items. We were discussing
Yeah,
telecommunicating from home, but I think that pretty much worked itself out. And then of course, FY 2023 audit, which we're gonna have some discussion in that because we do have the finalization of that, and that's pretty much it. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I make a motion.
Do I have a second?
second.
So next on our agenda is the discussion of the FY 2023 audit review. I'm sorry. Thank you, Miss Amy. I get ahead of myself sometimes. So we have a motion on the floor by Ms. Kerr and a second by Mr. Dennis to approve the minutes from December the 4th of 2023. All in favor? And so it approves. So our next discussion item will be the FY 2023 audit review. So it looks like that we only had 2 findings and maybe some recommendations which have been reviewed. One was the county mayor's office, and one being in the water and sewer utility department. In the mayor's office, it was deficiencies in the budget operations, and in the water and sewer, it was the office failed to properly issue purchase orders. At this time, if Miss Amy doesn't mind, since she is tied in with the mayor's office and with that corrective action plan, Miss Amy, can you explain to us in further detail? I know we have the paperwork in front of us, but you probably can lump sum it instead of.
Let me refresh my memory as to what happened. Okay, so on the first one, the debt services, that was when we combined the 2 loans. That expense came in right after the June commission meeting and right before July, so it had to be paid. You know, a budget amendment was not able to be done in front of commission in a timely manner. It was 3,100, so not a huge finding, but it did go over that function. And then the second one, where expenditures exceeded appropriations in the sanitation education, which is our litter grant. That was because there were some purchase orders that should have been closed out. There was a lot going on at that time, so I had failed to catch that. That was cleaned up, and comptroller was satisfied with our answers on that. So to fix that, I have been looking at purchase orders more carefully, especially at this time of the year. And also what I'm going to be doing is anything that is still open as of June 30th of any year, I'm going to move all those purchase orders into the accounts payables. So they will definitely hit on the year that they're supposed to, and we can get that cleared up real easily and not have to go across fiscal years. And this one irked me. The salaries exceeded appropriations. I mean, we were talking from 11 cents to apparently 3,000. It was a lot of rounding errors, and make sure I clean this up. Yeah, looking over journal entries, some of the line items actually should have been overtime instead of in their salary line items. Just a lot of movement around that I did not get to by the time we needed to close out our books. That's definitely on me. It is on record. I'm trying to do a much better job this year. So
Hey, we're all human.
we're all human.
But you do, they were I mean, from what I gather, they were pleased, the comptrollers were pleased with the corrective actions, and you have something set in place to review those, so I don't see that being an issue.
And that's definitely why I always hammer in on the 100s and 200s object lines. If those are out of whack by even a penny, they have to be fixed by a budget amendment.
Right. And it looks like that the water department, they've got their corrective action plan too, as all utility purchase will be based on the county's departmental policies. I think that was, to my understanding, might have been just,
I think there was a couple of purchases that were supposed to have purchase orders and they did not get one.
right. And I mean, I'm speaking from, it could be from something as small as $10 picking something up in town, and one of the guys needed something, said, hey, go get it from this business, and they go pick it up, and maybe they just, I don't know that for a fact, but I just know how it is. If you've got a water leak and it's, you're in need of a part, you might be running to Co-op or somewhere else in town and trying to get a fit in.
And it's been so long, I don't remember exactly what that was.
But they do have a corrective action plan, so I think for all in all, that's a pretty good audit to have, just those little minor deficiencies of things that can be corrected quickly and put a corrective action plan in place for future, so it's not a repeat. Does anybody have any questions in regards to the data snap sheet? I know Miss Amy's got that in there. Of course, we can see an increase in that's, before we got into the corrective action plans, they had that. I noticed that was one thing that Miss Amy had included in there, which was our total debt and our total expenditures and our total revenue. So you do see the increase in there, which of course, I think that's with any business, any county,
That's a lot of money in 2 years, isn't it?
it is a lot of money, but if you think everything, the cost of living and everything has increased, so I think that's probably about normal to anything else.
I mean, sum it up, debt's going down, expenses are going up, and revenues are also going up.
Right.
So
Who are our 3 active certified county financial officers?
I am one of them. Emily Walker with the water department is one, and Angie Williams, no, not Emily, Peggy over at the highway is one of them, and Angie Williams is.
That's still.
Does anybody have any questions or comments or anything further that they'd like to discuss on?
I think the main thing is that the corrections have been made. That's what they'll look at when they come back this year to make sure that that's been taken care of.
I agree. For me, it looks very good. I think y'all have all done a very well job with a large task at hand, so.
Oh, I have a question, and this is just gonna be out of my ignorance. Total debt is the reddish.
Mhm.
Total expenditures is the blue.
Mm-hmm.
What is total revenue? What does that language mean?
It's your income.
Income.
Well, I don't see.
It's at the
It's the
top,
red
it's
line.
the red line at the top,
Okay.
going from tower to tower.
Okay. Does that mean we broke it?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And plus the debt revenue has went down, so
That's excellent.
that's always good. Do we have any further comments on audit review?
For it to be such an extensive audit, to have two findings speaks well of our county.
I think it does too. I agree.
Pretty remarkable.
Not repeat
And
offenses.
they do an audit too. They don't just come in and write a few things down and leave. They do an audit.
Yes.
I mean, every finding is always significant, no matter if it's a little finding or a large finding, but for the findings that we had, I think those are easy fixes.
They were easy to explain. I knew exactly what happened. So
Right.
it just irked me. It was my first one in 6 years.
It happens to us all. So item B, fund balance statement. Of course, you can see like general fund, the ending balance it is up. Urban services is up. Of course, solid waste went down, ambulance is up, county drug fund is up, but that's the ending balances. Debt services, of course, is down, which is good. Highway fund is up a little, and general purpose schools is up.
What is the county drug fund?
That is basically like your drug task force.
It's actually separate from the drug task force.
Is it?
It
Okay,
is.
I'm sorry.
And I can't even find a good explanation for it, but it's a fund that Ray controls. And I think it's a lot of the seizures that he has through his office, so not through drug task force,
Okay.
but through the sheriff's department. Is the money, or the items that he seizes and the fines that come through that. He's able to put in there.
Thank you for that clarification. Cause I always thought that they were,
So the money that the drug task force gets isn't even a part of the
It's not
county.
part-
No,
it's
not
not-
part
Plus
of
there are three,
Several counties.
Right.
right?
We actually do control their fund, but we don't show it on any of our statements.
You control the Travis County portion of that fund or the whole thing?
I believe no, it is just the county.
Is
Trousdale.
it 3 counties or 5?
Or it's the whole district attorneys. So it would be Wilson, Trousdale, Macon, Smith, Jackson. That's five.
That's probably right.
Now I heard talk a year or so ago that they were gonna change the lines of the DA's office. But I haven't seen anything since. Have you heard anything about that?
No.
This ending fund balance over here can't be as of June the 30th, can it?
Which one are you looking at?
I'm looking all over here.
to the right.
Are you in the gray or in the green?
Right.
Well, I'm in the gray.
So the gray is what was budgeted, what we kind of estimated the balances to
Okay,
be.
it was an estimate.
Right, but the green is where it actually hit.
So it is up it's
We're
up
off a whole lot.
but not much.
It's so solid waste is the most off. Russell's down.
So solid waste, we had estimated that the fund balance was gonna be 694. We
Oh.
actually ended at 1,170,000.
This is your estimated right here, and this is your actual. And this on the general fund, did that include some grants that we've got?
It does,
What I thought.
This is a year behind, correct?
right, this is ending last June.
So some of the equipment purchases.
Will still be.
Yes.
Mhm.
So the money that, so I'm a depart, I'm one of these and I've got extra money. All that money stays with me. It's not, you can't take it and put it in another. You couldn't take general fund and put it in, oh, our services need this extra thing this year. Let's take a look.
The commission can do that. by
This is
resolution.
but you can.
You can't. that
Well, I didn't
department,
mean me
but
personally.
no, that
Yeah.
department cannot do it,
Well,
and the department cannot request,
Okay,
the department cannot request for Amy to transfer funds from another fund balance to another. The commission can approve for excess amount of dollars from, say, just an example, from general fund to go to urban services, but then it has to go through that process. It can't be just done on the inside.
Commission has control of it. They can do what they so desire unless it's something long, as long as it ain't something illegal. If you got one fund that's way over, you can always pull from that fund.
Correct.
A majority of the votes of the county commission. I'm afraid the 23 is gonna look a lot better than going forward.
Possibly. Do we have any further discussion on fund balance statement?
No.
If not, then we'll move on to fundraising. That is item C. So why this is on there and you don't have any kind of documentation on it is apparently there is a GoFundMe account that has been issued to help the animal shelter. And the reason that I asked Miss Amy to put this on our agenda, because from an audit purpose, I didn't know how the comptrollers themselves would look at that, being us being a county and that's a county funded animal shelter. So my biggest concern was, okay, you're asking on a social media page of help and assistance, and where is that funding going to go? Is that funding going into the nonprofit? But then the question is, if it's put out as an individual has started the GoFundMe to help them, on top of it, I'll just go ahead and put it out there. The one that originated it was the department head of the animal shelter. So that was a big red flag and a concern for me through an audit standpoint. So
What kind of fundraising is she doing?
So when her budget was cut,
And
she
she started
and
looking for other ways.
she started looking for other ways, but you can't really do something like that without commission approval. However, in her defense, she did say at the animal board meetings last week, she was not the one that had set it up. She said somebody had set it up in her name, even though the GoFundMe page does say set up by the director. So we're still fuzzy who actually set it up, but she did say that she was not the person that set it up.
What is she gonna do? Do you know any idea what she's got in mind?
I do not.
so
See, her part-time help got cut out.
right, and of course I was out of town, so I encountered this by a message that was sent to me while I was out of town. So I physically could not see the GoFundMe to see what the description was, but I felt like that it needed to be added to our agenda, and I spoke with Miss Amy about it because I'm like, me personally, I'm just thinking from an audit standpoint, that is that going to come back as a finding for this next year for us? How do you approach that? Because apparently, one, it was not approved by the commission. Two, where are the areas that you stay within those guidelines where it's county funded and it goes to the nonprofit? Or how is it all set up? And, I'm not saying that the money, the funds that are going there, that she's gonna take those funds. I don't mean it that way. I'm just saying,
You
It
will not
can-
have the counties.
it can get very gray and
Yes.
very shady, and it can
And
be
how do you use those funds?
exactly, it can become very misleading for a lot of people, and a lot of people are very animal friendly. And of course, I love my pup to death. So, and it's like part of our family, but the whole point, it's,
She needs to really,
it gets really shady and it gets
Yeah.
really gray for
she
me.
needs to let somebody know what she's doing and how she's gonna handle that money.
Right, it looks like it was an accident, something she was, I spoke with her after the, meeting. You say that it was, taken out of the budget. We haven't voted on it.
No,
So it was recommended to be taken out of the budget.
Correct.
And she does need that money.
Well, what brought all that about was the amount of animals that she's dealing with.
Which is a good number.
Well, yes and no.
it's a foster program that was not approved by commission.
That's the whole point is, and that's the reason that I asked for this to be added, because I wanted us to have this discussion, because one, and it's not to talk about their budget, because we're not in a budget meeting. It is the discussion of the fundraising and it being a county
Right.
provided department somewhat. But you do have the access to, I assume, on the nonprofit end of it, but I just don't know where, from an audit standpoint, that the comptroller. So with the help of Miss Amy, we are still looking into some of that, but I did want to let the other members
I've never
know.
seen this happen before.
I have not either. I've heard of actually some other counties doing it, and it was not looked at in a positive manner. So I just want everybody to kind of be on the same page that there is some I guess you could say investigating, or
Who would
more.
be doing that investigating?
Well, it's not, I shouldn't, let me backtrack. Let me
Okay.
say not investigating, even though I said that. It's more research to see what our guidelines are as a county. Is that something that can it function? Can it be done? What procedures need to be taken in place for that to happen, if it can happen,
Yeah,
without it being an audit finding?
yes, I totally agree.
But
Now, is there,
originally, it's gonna come back on the county.
just because it's already been done in this short period of time?
Yes, because it was done within the department.
Yes.
So, how many years has she done this? How many years has she been in that position?
I believe.
2.
And there's no one clamoring for it, right?
Mm-mm.
And there's no reason to believe she's trying to make, at this point, is there any reason to believe that she's doing it for any reason other than trying to get money to run what?
Oh, no,
Right,
I don't
right.
think that she's doing it for her personal benefit. I think it's more for the shelter,
Correct.
but I'm just saying, what are our guidelines? What do we need, a policy or a procedure? Does something need to be
How do
initiated?
you keep it above level
Right.
Right.
and make it work?
And how
And
could we even really
well,
raise money in a,
A
we
county,
need to raise money for that. That would be a positive thing, but can it be done?
can it be done, and what are the guidelines to do that process is my whole point.
And basically, if somebody wanted to, say the fire department wanted to raise funds for the county, they would need to come before the commission. This is what we're going to raise funds. This is how we're going to do it.
I think that we need,
Okay, so.
once we, and we'll probably have to meet again on this, once we get everything from the comptrollers, because to see, and we might have to even reach out to CTAS
Mhm.
to see what the guidelines are. That way we could put a procedure in place for future reference, because I don't think this has ever happened.
Is
So,
it possible, legal, possible, all that kind of stuff, for whoever set that up to go on there and put a statement, we have recently learned can't raise money in this manner.
I'm not saying that
And
it's not
would
possible.
take care of our funding early
Well, occasionally,
and just
the
change the
county will
way.
get donations,
Right.
which can be used in the proper manner. And
Right, but I
know if
don't
you
think-
call this fundraising is not a donation.
Right.
Right,
It's
but,
an active movement to create more money.
but it
Oh,
might be nice if there was a way to legally create that. Because we do need money out there, and if someone wanted to donate, and
Normally, I think in the past, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but if someone wanted to make a donation, say, to the animal shelter or to the fire department or to the ambulance, whatever their donation was, they can do that, but it's not necessarily that department.
it has to go through the proper
Right.
connections.
It's not the
And the books and
department
show
saying,
them.
hey,
Who
we
gets
need this
donations?
funding.
So
they did.
basically when a donation comes through, we'll use the animal shelter as an example. When Miss Betty Lou Taylor passed, her obituary said, make donations to the shelter. We got, I think about, I want to say 3,000 from hers. And that is actually part of the animal shelter's reserves because it was dog-eared specifically to use for the shelter. I think they used that money for new kennels, I believe, but that was dog-eared. Sorry for the pun, for specifically for the shelter. So no other department could use what came in.
But the difference here is a donation and a fundraising.
There is,
Exactly.
Now, you're
there's,
getting in,
there's
you're getting
soliciting
into some,
Thank you. That's the good
Sticky.
word, soliciting, and it's,
you're getting
you
into
know,
some sticky glue here when you start the fundraising. How do you show what's profit and what's expenses and, I don't know about that.
and
So-
that's kind of the other sticky situation with this. We don't know if those that are donating to the Trousdale County Shelter or if they're donating to the nonprofit that she has
That's
created.
right.
Has anyone discussed this with her?
It has been discussed through the board and it's still in discussions.
so. I mean, really, at this time, we can't move forward or do any movement. I just wanted it put on here because I know I have had quite a few calls myself in regards to this. So I wanted the other members of audit to be kind of like a heads up, hey, this might be something that,
People
You
are
know,
upset.
yes.
Well, we don't want to get that out of control and lose the shelter.
Well, no, and no, I don't think anybody wants to lose the shelter, but I think I don't want to talk about budget and audit. So I think it's just a budget issue, and that's where this all kind of came from. And I wasn't at budget, so I can't physically 100% say.
She did come back to the budget committee meeting last night we met and asked to put one of those,
Volunteers.
one of her,
One
one
part-time.
worker back in there. And, budget committee wouldn't do it.
Okay. So this was just something that was mainly put on here just for a discussion item because I think you probably will be hearing a little bit more in the future on it. So I just wanted everybody to be aware of it.
I'd hate to know I was gonna do it. And it makes money. You've gotta tie that money in with what you're getting from the county, but you gotta legally show, where that money's going.
Well, and my thing is too, with a GoFundMe, I don't know if anybody's ever had any dealings with GoFundMe, which I've never had a GoFundMe, but I just, from my research about GoFundMe's, I'm not crazy about them myself personally, just for the simple fact that GoFundMe does take a percentage of the portion that is donated. I have encountered that. So, and of course, what the percentage is, I really don't know because I've never dealt with it. I just know that there's a lot of people that use them, and
Pretty much anyone just says, oh, I've got cancer, give me some money.
well,
But-
me personally, if I'm going to make a donation or try to help someone, I would personally just rather send that money to them directly or
Yeah, I wouldn't want any money taken out of it.
right. I want them to get 100% of it. So, but that's mainly the reason that that's on there.
So it almost sounds like it's her ignorance. She just didn't know.
I can't.
We
I
don't know
can't
that.
answer.
We don't know.
We
that
don't
at
know.
this
I
point.
can't answer that one, Ms. Kerr. I really can't. Do we have any further discussion in regards to the fundraising at this time?
I
We
think
are,
She needs to come back and talk to the mayor about it and go through the proper channels and get it approved and know how she's going to take the lead with it, how she's gonna bring it in and what she's gonna show that happens with it.
Very appropriate.
I
That's what-
think once we have the full
I understand.
regards to
Both
like
sides of it.
the process of how it needs to be properly done through with the communication of CTAS and the comptrollers to make sure that the county is cleared by
It's
it.
possible for it to happen, but.
I'm not saying it's
the
not, I really
control
don't
is-
know.
Is where the problem will come in.
Yes, sir. So our next discussion item is the only other thing that I think, and I'm gonna reach back out to the mayor, which I think we kind of discussed this in regards to possibly adding 1 or 2 more members to this committee, just so in case someone is absent, that way we could have a forum and, voting purposes as well. Which I know the mayor's been super busy, so, but that's the only other discussion item that I have, unless someone else has any items that they would like to discuss. So if we don't have any public comments, because we don't have any public here, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
So I have a first by Mr. Ford and a second by Mr. Dennis, and once we get, further information in regarding fundraiser, we might schedule another meeting just to kind of see
We've
where
got
we
to
need to move
know
from it.
How she's gonna handle it.
There's gotta be a legal way,
She's got to
no
show
matter
it
what you
coming
call
in,
it.
and she's got to show where it's going.
Exactly.
It can't be some of it coming in and some sliding down here. That won't work.
No. So, everybody go home?